When President Nixon asked me to leave my law firm in Washington and come in and be his special counsel, the first thing I did was to be certain there'd be no conflicts of interest. I took everything I'd earned as a lawyer, I put it in a blind trust. I told my law partners not to come visit me, and they didn't. I was certain that I would never be compromised. I was determined not to be. And I'd been raised this way. I'd been a Marine officer. I'd learned about duty and honor, and I learned about integrity as a Marine. And as a kid growing up in the Depression in tough economic times, my dad was going to school at night, studying to be a lawyer, and he was working days, but on the weekends he'd spend some time with me. He said, "Chuck, one thing, always tell the truth and never lie. When you work as hard as you possibly can, no matter what it is." He even used the example of cleaning toilets. He said, "Doesn't matter what you're doing, do it well. Earn your pay. Do a hard day's work for an honest day's pay. Pay your bills." I mean, I was steeped in what we then knew as the Puritan work ethic. And being honest, this was a big thing with me. I would get gifts at Christmas time, for example, and I would take them down to the White House switchboard operators, the guys that drove my cars, because I was never going to be compromised. And I was so determined, I ended up going to prison. Why? I think you can be so self-righteous that you don't see what's really going on. You become oblivious to your own insensitivities because you're sure nobody can compromise you. Human beings have the infinite capacity of self-rationalization, and that's exactly what I did. I was in a lot of meetings where there were high stakes, where the President of the United States would say, national security depends on this. Kissinger came in fulminating one day over some documents that had been stolen, and he said, "This is going to compromise all of national security." I can think back on times, I remember when the president, 4 or 5 of us in the office, and the president was exploding over something that had gotten out and was in the hands of the Brookings Institution, and he turned to Bob Holdham and he said, "Bob, have we got a team in place that can go in and get those documents back? Remember, I've asked you for that." Then I later realized that was a time when I should have stopped and said, "Wait a minute, Mr. President, think about the consequences of this." But I did not. Self-righteousness is believing you're so good that you couldn't be compromised. And that's the kind of pride that's fatal, and was in my life, because I was so sure of myself that I didn't realize how vulnerable I was, as every human being is.